Hey guys, how's it going? RSaba podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Scott Innocente. I met you through one of my connections, Matt Branch. You're a realtor in the Windsor, Ontario area, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep. And obviously, I watched your podcast with Matt. You said you were stuck in that rat race job, and then one day you just had your wake up call, and you got your realtor's license, and you started buying properties. What was it that triggered that wake up call?
It was actually kind of a colleague of mine that I worked with. He was in the real estate game, and he had been investing in real estate for a couple of years. And the whole time I'd been doing stocks, and he would always kind of come over to my desk and say, "Hey, you got to get into real estate." And I would ignore him and say, "No, I like stocks. I don't want to deal with tenants and all that stuff that people tend to say." And then one time, like after ignoring him for over a year, he finally took some time to actually break down why. And when he
Yeah.
explained leverage to me, like the leverage that you get with real estate and how you can't get it in the stock market, I realized that that's why I could never really get ahead in the stock market.
Yeah.
Like you got to do some crazy things if you want to make big money in the stock market. And you
Not
also
just
have to
that.
yeah, go ahead.
The thing with the stock market is if you could leverage, the only thing that's going to give you that guaranteed cash flow is maybe those nice little dividend bank stocks, which doesn't even compare to the cash flow you're getting with real estate, anyways, right?
Yeah, it's not even close. I mean, you
No,
you
not
might get
even.
lucky and get a 5% yield on a Canadian bank. That's even long gone. But you
Yeah,
also, to earn that 5% yield, you're putting it into an asset with no leverage. So 100K is
yeah,
100K, right? If that was a real estate piece of real estate, you would put in 100K and you'd get 500K of bank stock. You know,
exactly,
so,
exactly.
and then also you're paying off the principal on your real estate investment. So you can't match it. It's not even close. It's not even close.
Yeah, yeah, and I want to. That's. I'm only 19, and I want to get into real estate. Right now, I'm in stocks. I've just put a shitload of money towards shorting the market. And then hopefully my whole plan is that that goes well. I could probably, I don't know, get like a 50 to 60% return on that and then buy a home with the profits. Now,
Yeah, I think the general rule of thumb for anybody out there, whether it's your income is through trading or stocks or a job, is you take your earned income, the money that you make doing your job, whatever that is, and you plow it into real estate
exactly.
or other
Well,
hard
well, one
assets.
thing you
That's it.
said in
Very
Matt's
simple.
podcast that I preach like heavily is to put your money to work. Just keep working. Don't
Always,
go out
always.
there. Yeah, I mean, like stocks, real estate, private equity, venture capitalism, whatever it is, as long as it's working, right? That's the main goal. But
Yeah. Now, what do
what
most
it
people do with their money? Right?
uh well, if they are
They
borrowing other people's money, it's to buy things like materialistic things that aren't making them more like the middle class. Middle class, actually, surprisingly, when I heard this, I was confused, but they actually have good credit. They actually have really good credit. But that good credit is only to fund their lifestyle to make themselves seem more rich. You know what I mean? Like they'll be able to finance a Jeep Grand Cherokee, but they can barely afford it and they're just going to work every day to look rich. They're not actually rich.
Yeah, so they're buying things that cost them money. I
Mhm.
finally learned I need to buy things that make me money. Like it's so
Exactly.
simple, but it takes
Exactly.
it's a complete 180 in your mindset, right?
Mhm.
It took me a long time to break that. It literally took me 30 plus years to finally say, oh, I now get it. Because we're
Yeah.
trained to be consumers and everything around us is to consume, consume, consume. But now it's gotten to the point where it's the opposite, which is I have a hard time buying liabilities now. Like
Oh, I
because I can
know.
go buy
Yeah.
things that make me money. It's become more fun to buy stuff that makes money. So,
Yeah,
but
because
easier
just
said than done. Like yeah,
it's just the it's harder when you're young, of course, but when you get older and you realize the importance of owning property, not just property, assets, getting your worth up as a human being, you start to realize, okay, like this is deeper than just having nice shoes and having nice clothes. Like, you gotta go out there and make more money. But um I realized this so young, man. I don't know how. I think it was because of my number sense growing up. Like I really okay. If I buy this multiply and the compound interest, I understood that
Compound's
right
huge.
away.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Nice,
know.
nice.
So do you still invest in stocks on the side, or are you 100% real estate?
I do because I have some money that's locked up in like RSPs or a pension fund that just I have to put
Do
it
you
to
do
work
that
somewhere.
for tax
I
write-offs?
retire. You know what? I honestly don't even really like it. RSPs in general.
Yeah.
I'm kind of learning the tax game now. So my first couple of years, I didn't plan properly, so I kind of like had to buy RSPs. But in general, I'd rather just buy real estate because I think if like I'm not going to
Yeah.
turn 100 grand in RSPs to 1.5 million over 25 years. It's very difficult to do that passively, right, with
Of
low
course. Yeah.
risk investments. But if I don't do RSPs and just take that money and buy some real estate, let it sit for 25 years, it's going to make me $1 million plus. So I don't really like RSPs that much, and I don't even like the TFSA that much because you get no leverage, you get no principal pay down, you get no cash flow generally. But when I retired from my old government job, they locked up a certain portion of my money,
Yeah.
and you got to put that to work. So I do, I
Okay.
like stocks. I'm just saying, like, for anybody listening out there, unless you're really good or some sort of trader, you're very unlikely to become financially free doing it. You have a 99% chance that you're not going to pull it off, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
even if you do, it's a full time job. Like, you're sitting at your desk trading 12 hours a day or whatever
Well,
the case is, right?
well,
So
my
it's
my
not passive.
my desired career is to be a banker, and I do trade, but I don't trade like that. Like I'll buy something, okay, in 3 to 6 months, I think this will go up, and I'm buying it and I'm holding it for now. Like kind of what I'm doing with shorting the market. I think by May, like not May, maybe like early 2023. Um, I don't know about real estate because real estate seems pretty invincible right now, but the stock market will be has a lot more down to go. Do you have an opinion on that?
I don't. I think it's definitely possible. I don't really care
I know
because I
my
don't play as yeah,
I
yeah. I
see.
don't like. I don't. Yeah, my time frame is never 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years. It's always 10 or 20, right? So if I'm buying Amazon stock, it's for 20 years.
Of
If I'm
course.
buying
Yeah.
whatever, it's for 20 years. But if you're playing the trading game, just understand that you're working. That's your job, and that if you want financial freedom, you have to put that money into passive assets like
Exactly.
businesses or real estate.
Yeah. And
I
I've
guess that's
seen
my point, but
you and Dan were having an interview or a podcast, and you said you think that. So I know you're a bit more woke. I could tell in Matt's podcast you were saying things like the school system doesn't teach you about money intentionally. When you said it was intentional, I was so happy. That put the biggest smile on my face. 'Cause I'm
yeah,
like,
it's intentional.
it's
Yep.
extremely intentional. So do you think that the gap that is happening right now between the rich and the poor just widening every day? You said in that podcast with Dan that you think soon enough it's just going to be rich people owning properties and poor people renting. Do you think that's being done intentionally as well?
I think the game is set up for that to happen, and
Okay.
it's always going to play out that way. And it's already played out in most major cities around the world. Like
Mm-hmm.
the average person does not own a home in San Francisco, or
Okay.
Hong Kong, or
Okay.
Paris, France.
Really?
So that's already played out. Those are the most desirable locations in the world. But what's happening is like Canada in general, because we're so socialist, we only have a few major cities. We're one of the most in-demand countries in the world for people around the world to come to Canada because we're a free country that's very welcoming.
Yeah.
So that's going, in my opinion, I don't know if it's going to be 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, but it's going to happen in every major city across Canada, which
Really?
is real estate will be concentrated. It's not like no average person will own a home, but it's going to be concentrated in the hands of the few. Like I own 10 plus properties. Dan owns 200 plus properties.
Yeah.
Dan Crosby that I do the
Yeah. Yeah.
podcast with. I have clients that own 5, 10, 15, and we're just keep buying them because it's such a good investment property.
Yeah.
So like
It
do the
is.
math. I
No,
mean,
and
and
what you
whenever they
said
put
earlier,
in
what you said earlier about like if I'm gonna buy Amazon stock for 20 years, I don't care what the price is at now. I actually hold Amazon stock. I believe that too long term. But with real estate, I would not be speculating anything right now. If I were to buy a home, I'd just buy it. No questions asked because I mean, you're
yeah.
getting the cash flow no
No,
matter
yeah.
what.
I would qualify that with two things. Cash flow. It has to be cash flow positive. It's got to
Of
make money
course.
every month.
Yeah.
And it's got to be a good solid location. So right now, like the
Yeah.
market in general has dipped, let's call it 15, 20% in Windsor or so from its peak. But like the good real estate hasn't dipped that much. The cash flowing duplexes and triplexes, they're holding their value. the great single families in the best locations, they're still getting 6, 7 offers. It's the tertiary properties and the ones that are like, in the suburbs and not the prime locations that are taking the big dip. But not the prime real estate because it's so limited, right? You can never move a
So
house. Or, sorry,
when I go and see a realtor, whoever it is, it could even be you for who knows, like whatever, and I want to buy my first home. You're saying I should prioritize location over numbers?
it's the yeah. Like I'll take a better location with lower numbers than a third tier location with double the returns,
Now I have
because those
I
double
have two
returns are
questions.
usually yeah. Oh, go ahead. Yep.
What makes a good location?
Well, I mean, if I wanted to break down some things, right, like school safety, but a lot of it, amenities, a lot of it's subjective and gut level feeling. Like I'm an expert in Windsor, so I know all the good locations, I know the bad locations. But if I was shopping in a different market that I didn't know, I'd have to do some different things to learn what a good
Okay.
location is, or just find somebody that knows, right, a good agent or whatever. But
Well, didn't you just
yeah,
sell a
that's why I
condo in
recommend.
Miami?
Well, we purchased a package of condos.
Okay.
Yeah, 58 condo units in North Miami Beach, and
Well,
we
so
raised
that was
funds
your
for that deal.
so the check that I seen, the 34,000 US. What was that income from?
So I'm a member of Coachwood Capital. We're a syndication group. We buy large multifamily in the U.S. and we help Canadians want to invest in the U.S. It's the big leagues over there. It's just
Okay.
hard to do as a small time investor. So we go out, buy things, and we let people put their money in, and we pool money
Oh.
together to buy large multifamily.
So it's like a
So
fund?
it's a fund, a syndication
Okay.
fund.
Okay.
And the thing I like about it, right, if people are looking to put their money to work, like you're an owner the of the building, right? It's not like you're just getting a dividend every month. No, you're partaking in cash flow, principal pay down, and depreciation. So it's a little bit easier than going to buy a duplex because if you're a beginner investor, you don't know what you're doing. But you can hop
And
on with experts like, Dan and myself that are doing all the work for you. You just put your money to work. It's very passive.
is there like a
Um,
minimum buy-in to get in or what?
Well, for our first one, we did 25K USD minimum.
Okay.
The next one that we're looking at right now, it's we're in the pretty early stages, but it looks like a go. We're probably going to be at 50K USD for that one, just because it's a bigger
Wow.
deal. But the thing
Wow.
I like about this, another thing people should consider is like if you go try to get a loan, a lot of people make good money, right? Like let's say you're a day trader and you make 100 grand a year. Well, the bank doesn't like day traders,
No,
or
of course.
right? So they're unlikely to like lend you money. But if you wanted to take 50 grand cash and give it to Dan and I,
Oh yeah.
there's no banks involved, right? We
Yeah.
just put it to work for you. So
Hmm.
you can kind of avoid the banks and all that stuff. So yeah, it's
But
pretty
what
cool
if
stuff for.
let's say I wanted to, but I don't have 50 grand US. And I go to the bank and I say I would like to put 50 grand US into Coachwood Capital. Do you
You
think
don't go to the
you don't?
um, you don't go to the bank. You would just deal kind of directly with Coachwood. Do you mean to like get a loan from a
No,
bank
like if I
or?
invest in Coachwood, isn't that what you're doing? If I wanted to put 50 grand in, but I don't have
Yes,
50 grand, how would I be able to do that?
go work. I don't know. Like,
Oh, okay, okay,
great.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Like it's yeah. You got to have the money, but
Yeah, okay. I was thinking maybe the bank would loan you for that. I don't know, because it's considered real estate, right?
yeah, it is. But we're dealing with U.S. banks, right? And
Okay.
and
Yeah.
Coachwood gets qualified for the mortgage, not you or me. It's
Hmm.
the corporation. So
Okay.
you're just part. We're just pooling money together to do bigger things. But you
Okay.
got to have the money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
that's
Yeah,
the
no.
criteria. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know, and I'm learning a lot about like saving and whatnot. I still don't even own a car because I'm horrified of the liabilities and I don't need a car yet. But I'm shopping for one right now, and but I've lost because I haven't sold yet, and these are long term investments, like 10 to 15 grand just this year alone through the bear market, and I just hold it, and hopefully like over time, maybe Coachwood Capital, maybe any home really. I'm just looking forward to getting that passive income started. But I have another question. Do you think that like this school being done on purpose, intentional, we're not going to teach any of these kids about money. Why do you think that's done?
Like, let's say that I'm a business owner and I have 100 employees working for me. Do you think I'm going to come into the office every day and teach them how to be business owners and so they all leave? Like, I'm going to try to keep them as employees because I need them.
But
And that's the way this, yeah.
why don't you think they teach like just save, like you don't have to teach like all the like business owner stuff and like how to be a boss and shit, but like save money, how taxes work, like stuff like that.
Because every little bit you teach somebody frees them a
Yeah,
little bit, right? And then if they have a little bit more knowledge, then they seek a little bit more and a little bit more, and then all of a sudden they free their minds from the system. I'm not saying there's any particular person that's in charge of this, but like it just
I know.
filters through. And like, my parents used to be teachers, and they would say, yeah, we got a new curriculum every year. Where does the curriculum come from? It's
Yeah,
it's telling the teachers what they can teach. They're basically repeating what they're told to repeat. Where does it come from and why? I mean, look what's in there, and then you tell me why they don't teach it, right? Like, there's no other reason
I
other than
know.
they don't want you to.
No, I know. I
Yeah.
made a whole video on it, like a 17-minute
Hmm.
video
Hmm.
explaining it. I'm like, they just want you to work in a factory. But this is what I
Pretty
was.
much.
This
Yeah.
is what I want to say. I wouldn't change a thing. If I was given the chance to change it, I would not change a single thing because I don't know how you could do it differently. You know what I mean? This is if you want to do
Yep.
capitalism. A lot of people think we're. My dentist was telling me he's like we don't live in a capitalist country. It's a corporatism. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I don't know the definition necessarily of
It's
corporatism,
kind
but
of in the
I think
name.
I have a general idea.
He might have
Yeah.
just made it up. It's kind of in the name. It's just like the corporations are always winning. For example, he gave the
Yes.
COVID
Yeah.
vaccine, right? Like if
Yeah.
there was four vaccines available, it was Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, and AstraZeneca. And he said if we lived in a capitalist country, us and the US, any pharmaceutical company, any mom and pop pharmaceutical company could have made a vaccine and it would have been allowed to be used. And you could take it at your own risk,
Yeah.
right? But we
Yeah.
live in
That's true.
corporatism. I mean, the
Yeah.
corporation.
So I would call it. Yeah. I don't know the total. I would call it borderline socialism,
Yeah, isn't
communism,
that when like you
where it's
just all the countries can just come in?
well, it's where like for Canada, right? We have 5 banks that the government
Mm-hmm.
graces us that can operate in this country, and they control the telecom companies, and they bail out the automotive industry, and they bail out Bombardier. So they're mingling in the economy all the time, and they control. It's like a quasi capitalism socialism mix, right?
Okay,
And
yeah.
China, I would say, is the same thing, right? Very heavy socialist controls. The government controls and regulates the market heavily. Capitalism is a sliding scale of regulation, I would say. Canada is way over here. We're heavily regulated, heavily socialized,
Yeah.
government hand in everything. USA is, historically way over on the other side, deregulated, government out of the way, let the free market reign, and the pendulum always swings. And Canada is just very far gone
I know, I know. And do you
in the
think that's maybe
capitalist
because of
mentality.
how much more like patriotic and like how much more they care about freedom in America and they're all armed and they're all like
Absolutely,
yeah, you think that's why?
yeah.
In Canada we're
It's
just like
100% why,
yeah,
yeah,
because in Canada
yeah.
we're all just a little scared, I think. Like we're always 100% obeying and following the rules or obedient, I should say, and we're following the rules
Hmm.
and that's that. I think that's why the whole COVID
Yeah.
thing lasted. I listen. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I don't care. I'm not even gonna preach my opinion on COVID. But what I do think is, and tell me if you agree, this whole inflation and recession scare that's going on could have completely been avoided if we just said 6 months into COVID that this is not that big of a deal and we don't need these lockdowns and masks and we can go back to normal. We don't need to continue printing money. But the reason they didn't is because they wanted this to happen. That's what I think.
Well, yeah, I think it's pretty clear that none of it made sense, in my
No,
opinion.
not at all, dude. Like,
It's also clear to
no.
anybody with any sense of economics to say that if you lock down the entire economy and stop producing goods and services and then print trillions of dollars, then you're going to have more money chasing a limited supply of goods and you're going to get massive inflation.
Yeah.
People have been calling for this for 2 years. It takes a long time to filter through the economy. Now we're getting hit with it. People have been clamoring 2 years ago. Go back and watch. We're going to
Yeah.
get inflation. We're going to get inflation.
I know. Hyper.
And then, oh, no, inflation's not a problem. Then it's transit. So it's either they're really stupid, which is hard to believe anybody's that stupid, or it's intentional corruption. Like, I don't know. I don't really care.
I know.
But what I do care, what I care about is I want to protect my money, my wealth, and my time, because inflation, what it really is a time thief. So I got to work double as hard to have the same amount of buying power. So that's why you're always a slave to your job. You can't get out of your job. You got to work for 35 years and generally retire on a mediocre pension.
Exactly. Yeah. No, you
because
are.
Because inflation's stealing your time.
And like for all the people watching this that are like, oh, I'm a slave, and they're like miserable. Listen, everyone in the world is a slave. We kind of have it the best, to be honest. If you look at countries like in Asia and Europe,
True.
it's a lot worse. That's what I try to do. I try to think of it in a positive way. Like in China, you're a fucking slave and you're working for $1 a day. You know what I mean? It's horrible over there.
But there's still very rich people in any of these places or
Oh,
countries.
just like there is here. But they just have a wider gap between the rich and the poor than we do. I think ours is.
But that gap, my personal theory is that anybody can be on that other side.
Exactly.
Of the
No, 100%.
You have to do what those people do, and that the playbook is clear. We keep giving it to you, right? People like us, we hop on podcasts.
Yeah.
I try to preach the same thing over and over again. I'm not saying anything new. It's just so hard.
Wait, go back to when
people
you
have
were-
no problem.
Go back.
I was gonna say
before
people
you
have.
were- Yeah. Go ahead.
People have no problem spending 80 grand on a new car. Like they'll go buy a Tesla for 80 grand, but buying a duplex is risky. Like that's how backwards people's mentality is.
But
Like
meanwhile,
the
when
duplex will make you,
when you spend 80 grand on a Tesla, you're guaranteed to lose money. It's not even a risk. You're actually just guaranteed to lose money. But like
It's
you said, the
guaranteed.
duplex will do what?
the duplex is risky. It's going to make you $1,000. It's not really risky, but it's going to make you $1,000 cash flow a month. You're going to pay off $1,000 off the principal a month, and it's going to appreciate at 3 to 4% a year. And it's going to make you a multi-millionaire if you hold it for 25 years. Mm-hmm. The Tesla is going to be worthless in 25 years. And yet this one, you have no problem going to the dealership and signing up for that. Sign up for that duplex? No, my parents said that's risky. Well, you're stupid.
Yeah, no, well, that's the thing. And I don't know if you follow Robert Kiyosaki at all. He says the whole poor mindset. You do? Yeah.
Yeah.
He says the whole poor mindset is how your parents raised you. What did your parents? What did they make your psychology of money, right? And I want you to go back to when you were, before you had your wake up call and you were working your dead end job. Did you hear this on the internet? Like, make your money work for you, and it would just go in one ear out the other.
See, I wasn't looking for it, and I didn't know where to look, so I don't really think so. I just had that one colleague of mine kind of in my ear a little bit, but he didn't explain it very well, to be honest.
Okay.
So he didn't change my mind. But once I started, I always knew something was wrong. I'm like, I gotta work at this job I don't like for another 30 years. Like, something's wrong here. It's like the Matrix where Neo has the splinter in his mind. He can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
So I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what to do. I kept looking for a different job, but I knew it would be the same problem, which is you're a slave. And then, honestly, it's so simple, right? That it's staring you in your face. And Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, is so simple. Once I read that book, it was over.
Yeah.
So my colleague got me on the path. Then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I don't know how I came about it. And then I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and my mind completely flipped. That was it. And I went down this path, and I never looked back. So it was like, on a pendulum, you can come up to like 49% where you know something's wrong. And a lot of people come up to 49%, and then they stop, and they just stay in their job.
Yeah.
And they know something's wrong. But for me, it was like I was hovering at that 48, 49% for a long time. And then once my mind switched, you come over to the other side, and it's like the red pill, blue pill in the Matrix. Mm-hmm. Once you take the red pill, you can't go back.
No.
I can't go buy that car anymore. I can't go spend my money on a new house until I have created financial freedom. I just can't.
No, it depends on your goals too.
Yeah.
Like I don't care who you are.
True.
You should. I think everyone wants financial freedom. I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't. Even if you love working, like you
Yeah.
genuinely love working at a factory, financial freedom is still something you would desire. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I think the people that say they don't, in general, are probably just lying to themselves.
Yeah,
Um,
because they want to
I,
believe that they
yeah,
don't because they don't know how to achieve it. But dude, if you
yes,
read Rich
and
Dad Poor Dad and just put it in simple terms, it's not hard. Like I don't know
yeah.
if it's just me, but it's common sense.
Well, here's the thing.
Huh.
This is the problem. There's a philosophical term you can look it up. It's called Occam's razor. Can't remember why it's called that, but the basic premise is when something's really simple, it's usually the most optimal solution. But people can't reason that the most simple solution is the right one. So they try to complicate things, right? If you say, hey, just go buy assets and stop buying liabilities, no, that's too easy. It's got to be a trick.
Yeah,
I'm going to go do this complicated trading. I'm going to give my money to this complicated day trading scheme or
yeah.
get involved in this pyramid scheme or the Chase's get rich quick thing, right? When if you just bought one piece of real estate every year for the next 20 years, you would be financially free and worth
But
10 to 20
even
million dollars by
like
the time you retire.
even if you wanted to get rich when you're young, it's still a simple equation. You're not going to get it through some Ponzi scheme. You're not going to get it through some course that
Yeah,
you're going to get it from working your ass off. That's it. It's that simple.
true,
You just
true,
have to work your
true.
ass off. Even you. I see, dude, I see your besides the real estate investments, I see your videos advertising the properties that you're selling. That takes work. That takes money and it takes work.
Hours,
Yeah, I can see it, man,
hours. Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's the editing and like when you're is there drones like in the house going around and stuff?
Typically, our cameraman's just cutting through with like
Okay.
a camera. That's
Okay. Yeah,
I don't
no,
know what it's
because
called, but
that takes
yeah,
work
yeah.
though, right? Compared to the average realtor who's probably just taking a picture of all the insides. But you're taking a video and you're speaking over it as well. Like that extra work goes a long way, right? But that's with every single business opportunity or whatever you want to do in life. The more work you put in, the more you're gonna beat the people that put less work. But
When I first got into real estate, I'm I come into this business. There's giants in this business, right? They've been here, and my thoughts: why would anybody work with me? Everybody
yeah,
already has a real estate agent. There's all these guys. They get all the business. No, that was my actual thoughts. But as I started getting into it, I'm like, oh my god, most of the agents don't work hard. They take pictures with their cell phones. They don't respond within an hour. I respond to everybody like as quick as I can. I'm always available. I'll show houses any day of the week. And then as I started working more and more, I'm like, oh my god, I'm outperforming all these other people because people are like the
they're
bar is
lazy.
actually pretty low. The bar is low, and I thought the bar was really high. Um, so when you work, like you said, right? If you go out in whatever industry you're in and just work hard, you're going to outcompete 90% of the people just through
Exactly.
work ethic and ability and effort. It's not really skills only so much. It's
I
really the
know.
work ethic.
Yeah,
I've had a
skill.
lot of people change agents and come work with myself or other people on my team or whatever, and we've heard the common thread. Oh, they were trying to sell me junk. They were pushing me into something I didn't want. They were not answering their phone. They were always
So I
unavailable.
have a
They blah blah
question.
blah.
If a potential buyer calls you and he's like, I'm interested in this house that's for sale, but like you know that the house is shit, do you try and sell it?
It depends. Like if I'm the listing agent, right? If I'm selling my client's home, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to sell the house. If it's my client, I'm representing them on the buy side. Um, I'm gonna tell them, don't buy this. We'll find you something better, right? Like so,
Okay.
it depends on.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I'm not trying to scam anybody, of course, but my
No,
job is to
no.
sell the house
No, one of
for
my
market value, right? So
one of he used to be my next door neighbor. You might know who he is. He's very busy in Leamington area. His name's Zai Haifa.
yes,
You
yeah, I
do?
think yeah, I know who he
He
is.
works
Yeah,
for
yep.
Century 21.
Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't met him in person, but I know who he is.
Yeah, yeah. He told me like, cause he's making lots of sales, but he told me like sometimes he'll sell a house and someone will be like, oh, there was a leak in the basement. He's like, how the hell was I supposed to know that? Someone calls me to sell them a house. I'm gonna sell it. I don't know what's going on in the basement. So realtors do get that reputation, especially if you're selling a lot. It's gonna come, but hey, you know.
Yeah, you can do your best to mitigate those risks and talk about them
Well,
and whatever, but yeah, you can't be perfect.
it's hard to deal with real you never know. It depends on the person because it's a conflict of interest. It's like, do I care about client's best interests, or do I just want this commission? You know what I mean? It's tough.
Absolutely.
It's tough.
Absolutely.
That's why
Yeah. People. Yeah.
I was watching a podcast with Robert Kiyosaki and one of his like older friend investors, and he's like, whatever you do with the upcoming market, don't take advice from a money manager, because a money manager or like a financial advisor will never go on Twitter and say we're entering a bear market, because then all his clients will leave. Like, why am I invested with this guy if he thinks the stocks are going to go down, right? Conflicts of interest, you got to avoid that when you're taking financial or investment advice from people.
Very good point. I honestly, like, for myself, I've just learned not to really listen to anybody.
Yeah.
Right? I'll listen to you. I'll take your bits and pieces of information. Okay, this guy says this is because there's always opposing views. One guy says we're entering a bear market. One guy says we're not. Which one? Who's right?
Nobody
Neither of
knows.
them really know.
Nobody knows.
So I'm going to make my own decision. I'm going to take responsibility for whatever decision I make. If I listen to you, well, then it's my fault for listening to you. So I'm never. I used to blame other people. Oh, that one guy I listened to on TV, he told me there's, and then I missed it because of that idiot. No, it was my own fault.
Yeah.
You're just always looking for somebody to blame. So I don't really listen to anybody. Nobody makes decisions for me, and I'm responsible for whatever I do at the end of the day. But I'm always willing to buy on a dip, right? Like, I'm not going to try to time the exact bottom, but I'm going to buy good quality stuff. I'm not buying risky stuff on a dip.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy prime real estate. I'm going to buy the best companies in the world. You know, if you want to say Apple, Nike,
Amazon,
Starbucks,
yeah.
Amazon, whatever, right? Like, whatever you
yeah.
think the best companies are, you know they're going to be here in 50 years. They have no competition. Google, they're literally a monopoly. The Canadian banks, and I'm not going to worry about, like, oh, I bought it for this, and 6 months later, now it's down. Because I've seen this play out. I'm 38 years old. This is the 10th time or 20th time I've seen this play out. I've now learned you're not going to catch the exact bottom. You're not going to catch the exact top. Over long periods of time, the chart looks like this. Any period of time that's short, it looks like this. I don't care about the short periods anymore. I just don't.
The Intelligent Investor, written by Benjamin Graham, was written in like 1930. I don't know. Same, and Warren Buffett started investing in like that time period as well, and they taught those principles, and they're timeless, completely timeless principles.
But here's the thing: everybody says like, "Oh yeah, like I'm buying this stock forever. I'm never gonna sell Amazon." Then a market dip happens, and what do you think people are doing right now?
Yeah,
They're selling
and
Amazon. They're selling Google. They're selling Amazon. They're selling Google. They're selling the real estate. Some people are selling with the intention of buying other things. Like, okay, I'm going to sell this for top dollar. I'm going to buy something else. But they know to put their money to work. If you know what you're doing, it's fine. You can buy and sell it as you're at your leisure. But most people are selling out of fear. They're selling because they think, I'm going to sell at the top of the market. I'm going to buy at the bottom of the market. And they're not. You're just not going to do that.
If you want to know what I did, so I 25% of all my positions. Amazon, I have Meta as well, and Tesla, 25%, and I put it towards shorting. And then, like, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, it's a stupid move. But I still have 75% of that position that's not being touched, because that's like 40 years. But if the shorting goes well, like I said, I want to buy a property. And I would sell all my stocks if it meant I could just buy a property, to be honest. Because I don't really care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a much, and plus it's a, like, I have my stocks on an app on my phone, and I could just forget the password one day. I'm not going to, but like I'm saying, it's not real. You know, it's not concrete, real, physical asset. That's why I like gold too. But like real estate is a real asset. It's there. You can touch it. You can see it. Even in 1972, we hit the gold standard, right? As soon as that happened, our money is not real anymore. Like, it actually has no value if you really think about it. It's just an exchange. It's a way we exchange value. Like there's nothing backing our coin. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. That's why we live we're in an inflationary monetary system, which means they're always going to be printing more money. Okay, that's the system creates more money, which means your currency is constantly being devalued, constantly, at typically, let's call it 7% per year. The money supply increases 7% per year. So every year, if you have 100 grand in the bank, by the end of the year, you can expect it to be 93. then
and then
86,
86.
then
Yeah.
whatever, down and down and down. But when your money decreases in value, what happens to assets?
You know
They
what though?
increase in value.
You know what though? Your money is actually not decreasing. It's just the assets that are increasing, which means the
No, your
purchasing.
money's being your currency is being devalued.
Yeah,
So a
exactly.
lot of
But like
people,
the 100 grand
yeah,
still says 1000000, but the
yes,
purchasing power of that 100 grand is significantly less because of asset prices rising, right?
yeah. You instead of looking at it as if your used car is now worth more, right? A lot of people's used cars are worth more now.
Okay, yeah,
You could actually look at it as, well, my money's actually just worth less because they
yeah.
just printed $7 trillion.
Or you
They
can look
flooded.
at, yeah, like, okay, what else is worth more? Fertilizer, ground beef, uh, literally all food in the grocery store is worth more. Every gas. I mean, look, this is another thing. I think the whole uh, what's going on with the oil industry and gas is just a whole load of shit, dude. I mean, I mean, we have more than enough oil fields in Alberta to get our own oil, but yet we blame these rising oil prices on the war in Ukraine.
Well, if you think logically for even 5 seconds, you can understand that this climate change stuff that they talk about is absolutely nonsense. So you shut down the Canadian oil
Yeah,
sands because it's too much CO2 emissions. Where do you think we're getting the oil from?
Russia.
Like if we lower
But
production, it's a global oil
yeah,
market. Somebody else is going to produce more oil to
exactly,
fill the gap, and it's
exactly.
going to be a country without any CO2 emission, whatever. So globally, there's just more emissions. It doesn't
I
actually
know
change
it
anything.
doesn't change fuck all.
It's another secret hidden tax on the consumer.
I
That's
know.
why they changed it from global warming to climate change because they couldn't prove global warming. Now any change in the climate, they can just say, well, that's climate change.
Well, do you think
So
climate change is well, it's real. Like that like it's not that I'm not saying you're wrong, but like the climate is changing. Do you think that's just a natural occurrence and we're just blowing it out of proportion so these globalists can kind of like push their own
I don't
agenda?
think anybody, I don't think there's any solid data to support the fact that the climate is changing at any pace different than any time in history
Okay.
before.
So you
The
don't think
science that they use, if you look, if you listen to the counter arguments, which we never hear in the media, right? You only
yeah.
hear one point of the view, which is climate change is real. There's a lot of counter arguments to that that never get published,
Well,
and there's a lot of people that,
I don't think their argument is climate change is real because it's obviously real. I think they're saying climate change is from human activity.
CO2,
Human activity in general.
CO2,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's actually
CO2
no
emissions.
concrete proof. Elon
Not
Musk
at
said
all.
this too. There's no concrete proof that it's from us. None.
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 None. And yet they make it seem not like it's like, well, we don't know for sure. They say no, it's for 100%. It's not even debatable anymore,
Yeah.
right? And the purpose of science is not to have consensus on something. Is to have observable, testable
Yeah.
studies
Yeah.
that you can challenge. You should be able to challenge any study, right? If you say this, I should be able to challenge it scientifically. They don't allow for any challenge, so they just give us one side of the coin,
Well, they
and
did the
everybody
same
seems
thing with
to,
COVID, bro. Listen, look, this
yeah,
is
one
what I
hundred
try to
percent.
tell people.
Yeah.
These globalists, and look, I don't care if you think Joe Biden is the most powerful man in the world, Justin Trudeau. When I say like we live in a corporatist or corporatism, whatever, the richest people in the world are the most powerful people in the world. So they
You
can,
got it.
like BlackRock and Vanguard, like they own everything, man. So they control whatever you see on the media. Whatever. You could have the biggest nuclear bomb in the world. If you control information, that is a way bigger weapon. Way more
Yeah.
important, way bigger, because you're controlling minds at this point. What do people
Yeah.
think? That whole.
Most people believe that the news is impartial, which is you're completely blind if you think the news isn't bought. I think every local news company, even in Windsor, Ontario, from Chatham Herald to Windsor Star, whatever, was bought by Post Media
Oh, yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
It's they've been buying all the media companies, whoever they are, for years and
Look,
conglomerating them into
even.
like
It's not even a mystery who they are. It's people with a lot of money that are trying to push
yeah.
an agenda because they fucking can. And like
Well, that's yeah.
I used to sit back and complain, and then I'm like, why am I complaining? What is my complaining gonna do? These people have billions of dollars. I don't even have 100 grand, and Mike, I'm here complaining like it's gonna do something.
Yeah.
if
And this is a great point on that. I don't complain anymore.
no, you can't.
I used
You
to like
shouldn't.
debate about this stuff and argue. Here's what I understand: the game is rigged
Yeah, it
for
is.
rich people.
It is. So get rich.
It's rigged for people that know the game. So if you know the game, you can say, okay, well, instead of doing X, I'm going to do the right things. I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy assets. I'm going to stop doing liabilities. I'm going to start a corporation so I can hide my taxes. I can pay myself a certain amount of money so I fly under the radar for taxes. I can start a holding company that buys real estate, and you play the game right. And then at the end of the year, you don't pay any taxes. You get write-offs for all your business activity. You stack properties. You stack real estate. Stack Bitcoin. Stack stocks. Start businesses. Become one of the top 10% wealth earners in the world, which actually isn't that hard
No,
because
it's not.
the
Especially if you
top
live in,
1%.
especially if you live in I know
Globally.
1% is like 200,000 a year, isn't it? It's not. It's nothing.
It's something crazy,
Yeah.
2 to 500 grand somewhere in there.
But
So
but
yeah.
it's
So stop complaining about it, right?
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying in general.
Mhm.
Like get on the right side of the
No,
fence.
no.
Okay, let's take the immigration debate, right? A lot of people are saying, well, they're bringing in too many immigrants, and not that that's a problem, but we don't have enough houses, and they blame the immigration policy for it. And I'm like, okay, well, if you want to bring in 400 or 500K immigrants a year, I'm just going to buy real estate.
yeah.
Like, I love it. Keep bringing them.
Yeah.
I'm just
But-
going to play the game, right? So
Yeah.
there's always a way to win. Most people get caught up debating about politics and arguing and like sitting at the dinner table and like fighting about, oh, the liberals said this and the conservatives are doing this and the gun debate and transgenderism. I'm just out here buying real estate and stacking properties and creating financial freedom. And whatever
Well,
the
have you
government
ever-
does,
Have you ever read a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
I know about it. I don't know if I ever read it.
So the first habit is to be proactive and not reactive, which is exactly what you're describing right now. So you see that immigrants.
Yes, it's a great point.
Yeah, immigrants are coming. 400,000 immigrants came into Canada this year, and a reactive person would be like, "Oh shit, they're stealing our jobs, they're stealing our homes," and you took the proactive approach. You're like, "Okay, I own real estate. I'm gonna buy more real estate because this is only gonna make you know what I mean? Like it's like,
so simple. It's so simple.
Is it really?
You're complaining about it. I'm going to be proactive about it.
Yeah.
Okay, the government wants to eliminate the 1031 exchange in the U.S. Okay, well that means properties are going to trade less frequently. That means values are going to rise, and that means rents are going to go up.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like I'm always thinking.
Yeah.
Like whatever the government does always backfires in favor of the rich. So a lot of times they'll come out with a policy that looks like they're coming after the rich, but the rich just like change gears a little bit and then profit off of it in an indirect way, while the middle class plebs and the lower class people financially say, "Oh yeah, great. Oh yeah, Justin Trudeau is really going after those rich people." Nah, because they got 10 corporations, they don't declare any income.
Yeah.
So you can do whatever you want. They're not going to pay any extra taxes, or they're not going to whatever. So once you know the game, you can always win no matter what the government does. Most of what they do is only designed not to actually go after rich people, but to keep the middle class in subjection and think that they're working for them.
Yeah, and
Right,
because
to
they
win
need the
votes.
workers. Like you know how when you were stuck in
Yeah.
that dead end job. Before I get into that,
Oh,
one,
yeah.
one more thing I want to say is a proactive approach I'm talking about right now is like, so interest rates are going up. Obviously you know that interest rates are going up. So like most people are complaining like, oh, I can't finance this, I'm gonna default on my mortgage, whatever. I'm thinking about buying bonds because bond prices go down, and then like the interest rates on these bonds go up, and then you could probably sell them when interest rates go down again. Like there's opportunities everywhere. I mean, the financial market is really just a market of lenders and borrowers, and when interest rates go up, lenders win. Like when interest rates go up, banks are winning because like you owe them even more money than what they lended you when you bought a mortgage, right? But yeah, so
Yeah, for sure. But I love. Yeah, I can't comment on well, our bond prices going up or down. I don't know short term.
Okay.
But I like your approach, which is I see an opportunity. I'm going to go try to take advantage of it.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
and then if the opportunity switches, then I'll jump to the other side of the coin, right? Like you're always willing to, like you can see an
There's always,
opportunity
yeah.
in the good or bad. There's always a silver
Oh,
lining.
there's always good.
And most people
Always.
just get caught up in the negative, and the negative will keep you in inactivity. It'll keep you.
Do you know why? Because pessimism is a lot more seductive than optimism is.
So true.
Yeah,
It's so true.
like imagine you went up to a Japanese guy in 1946, right after the U.S. just nuked them, and you're like, your country is gonna advance like crazy. Soon, you guys are gonna be allies with the U.S., and then you're gonna be 10 to 20 years ahead of them technologically. He would have thought you were on fucking drugs. He'd have been like, you're
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
No, we're fucked. Like we just got nuked, and that's exactly what happened. Japan is much. They're allies with the U.S. They're one of the most developed countries in the world. They're so ahead of us technologically, and
Yeah, they had a huge run. Yeah.
oh yeah, right after that, and then yeah, because pessimism is so seductive. But what I wanted to say was, you were talking about how like this is all done to keep the middle class in check, just keep them working, right? Um, you when you were stuck on that dead end job, you're like your conscious mind was telling you the solution is to get a better paying job, because ever when we grow up as kids, we're told to go on like career cruising and look at these jobs, look at these jobs, look at these jobs, because we're told the way to make more money is to get paid more, but we're never told that like the way to actually make more money is to make sure your pay is going towards things that make you more money. What are you doing with the pay? Not how much are you getting paid, but what are you doing with the pay? That's how you get rich.
And how are you avoiding taxes legally?
Yeah. Well,
Because
I'm focusing on
if you
getting
if you
right
earn
now.
if you earn over 120K in Canada, you're taxed at 55 plus percent,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Or something
fucked.
like that.
Yeah.
So you can make 250K and really only bring home, I don't know, whatever the number is, who knows. But also, then everything you buy is taxed at 13%. Every time you buy a piece of property, land transfer tax, gas tax, carbon tax, this tax, that tax. Your actual like disposable income, if you don't understand the game, at the end of the year for the most people, even middle class or upper middle class is a mindset, not a dollar amount. It's for middle class means you don't know what to do with your money. You just know how to save and earn.
Yeah.
That's it. Rich isn't necessarily like I have more money than you. It's well, I put my money to work. I start corporations and I avoid taxes. So that's the difference. But the disposable income for the average person is very low after taxes,
Oh, I know.
and not only just HST and everything else that we have in Ontario, but also the inflation tax that people don't even understand is happening to them.
Oh yeah, it's
And
the.
I want people to understand, yeah, when I go to the bank and get a mortgage out, let's say I get a mortgage for 500 grand, the bank creates $500,000 out of thin air.
Yeah.
Okay, they don't have $500,000 in the vault; they create it. So I've just created $500,000. Now, what happens when the bank creates $500,000? It dilutes the whole
By like
money
a
of the
fraction
whole
of
country,
a percent, but like
a fraction of percent. But that's happening
it continuously
in
every day.
in the billions daily.
Yeah,
Your money
exactly.
is being devalued daily. And
Exactly.
the people that understand the game are the ones creating the money. They're at the front of the spigot, right? They're the ones like taking advantage of the printed money. And then it
Well,
filters
money
down
flows.
through inflation.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Money flows, and at the end of the day, like let's say it starts off with, like you work for Apple, I don't know, and then you get a paycheck. That money's yours. Where's it gonna flow to? It's probably gonna flow to like some Nike shoes. At the end of the day, it just ends up in a rich person's hand. If it goes towards your
Exactly.
rent, at the end of the day, it just ends up in a rich person's hand, right? Always ends up in a rich.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, I'll say this. Let's change that from rich person to asset owner, because anybody
Yeah.
can be an asset owner.
Yeah.
It's people think, oh, rich, I'm not rich. No, then just go buy assets, because that money that we just said is gonna trickle down to you in the form of
Exactly.
rent.
Yeah.
Or like if you own a business, an ice cream shop, they're gonna come spend the money at the ice cream shop. Or if you start an Amazon store, whatever you do, right? It's going to filter to you. Or if you own stocks, right? If I own Amazon stock, I shop on Amazon 4 times a week.
Exactly.
So you know what I mean? Like, and so does everybody else. So your money's gonna find your way to me
Exactly,
as
yeah.
Amazon stock goes up over time.
And
But you're right.
with that because it's like so like such a little impact, like your little Amazon purchases in the grand scale of things. But like still, like that's a really good way to look at it.
Well, if I'm doing it, I can guarantee you that millions and hundreds of millions of people worldwide are doing it, right? I
100%.
think we all do the same stuff, right? If I love Nikes and I don't really see any competition, or they're the best brand in the business, then I'm sure most other people in the world think the same thing. I'm gonna go buy Nike stock or whatever, however you want to put it. But I love what you said there because it's so true. It takes a while for the money to filter through the economy, right? It filters around for whatever period of time, but it settles in the asset owner's hands
Exactly. Yeah. Asset owners are
at the end of the day.
much better
Yep.
way to a much better way to put it. And
Now
then
here's the thing. Then they print more money, right? And they give handouts and they give CERB checks and they give social assistance and they give baby bonuses and
yeah.
free daycare and whatever. And they print money, and every time they print money, same thing happens. It filters through the economy, and then it filters its way all the way down to the assets.
But why do you
Owners.
think?
That's why I don't even. Yeah, I don't care when they print more money.
So what? Yeah, and they did, and they printed a stupid amount in the past 2 years. And what is everyone saying?
But I want people to understand it's not just because of COVID. They are always printing money.
I know, but they
Okay?
printed it at a hyper amount in the past.
At a hyper amount,
I-
probably
before-
double or triple
Yeah,
what it was
'cause before
before. But
COVID, we had a healthy 2% inflation, which just means our economy's growing, which is completely.
that's
fine.
core inflation, though.
Pardon?
That's core inflation. That's core inflation. So
Yeah,
the government
that's
uses a
regular.
manipulated basket of goods as well.
Yeah, I know.
A
it's
basket
so
of goods
flawed.
that's anti-inflationary,
So flawed.
right?
Yeah.
Yes. So I want people to think about this too. If you want to own prime real estate, your inflation rate's going to be higher. If you want to go on 5 trips a year, your inflation rate's going to be higher because the inflation rate for different baskets of goods is very different. If you want to own a vacation home in Miami, your inflation rate's higher than if you
And
want
you
to
know
live in
what
Chatham,
that-
Ontario.
You know what that consumer price index really does at the end of the day? It gives the basket of goods. That's the consumer price index, right? It
Yeah,
gives the
yeah.
Fed chairman and the president. They can really make inflation whatever they want. I mean, in the month of May, inflation was 8.6% in the USA, and I know for a fact it's more than 15%. More than 15, yeah. But they're just gonna make it whatever the fuck they want because they can. They're gonna pick this item from the grocery store, this item, this item, this item, and it can be the lowest ones. But if they did it like
Yeah.
as a whole in more accurate terms, 15% minimum, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, but I want people to understand that there's different baskets of goods. Core is only one basket. If I want to be a rich person and own a jet, well, what's the price of jets this year? How much did that go up?
Yeah.
What's the price of houses in Miami or Paris, France? Wherever I want to do with my life, what's the price of those things? Because it's way higher than 8%. Like you said, that might be 30%, 40%.
Oh, some things.
So
I know. Like ground beef is like 36. It's stupid. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just ground beef. I'm talking like, hey, I want to be financially free.
Yeah.
Well, what's the price of
Yeah.
Lambos now? What's the price of an Audi A4? Whatever I want. What's your basket of goods?
But what like so? I know Dan like he loves his cars, but I just never really understood he probably like genuinely loves cars. So like I get that, but like I don't think even if I were to achieve mass levels of wealth, I would have like that many cars. Like an Audi, like that has nothing to do with financial freedom.
Well, there's a couple things, right? Like when you could use those things for marketing, right? You get a lot of attention.
Of course.
You know.
But-
So there's that angle. Also, a lot of these cars do hold their values if you buy right.
Yeah.
And Dan's pretty smart. I've talked to him a lot about this. He typically buys things that will be worth more in 5 years because they're
Really?
rare.
And does he
Yeah.
drive them a lot?
I don't know how much. Certain cars more than others, but I don't have
Yeah.
stats on that. But he did say specifically he buys things that increase in value, even cars.
That's
So
amazing,
he's-
'cause he's getting a double
Yeah,
whammy there. He's got all the marketing and he's getting money as well. And
Yeah.
dude, cars
But I'm
are-
not a car guy either.
Yeah.
It just doesn't appeal to me that much. I just don't care.
Yeah, no, I don't. I'd much rather
Yeah.
have like the thought of owning like a 50,000 square foot home, like that brings me more joy than like a Lamborghini or a Bugatti or something.
For sure. Yeah.
You know, and
I hear you.
there's not really a point in having that much room either, but like I don't know, it's just something about it. Like have you ever seen Drake? You know the Drake the rapper? Have you ever seen his home?
Yeah.
It's like something like that. Like that's what I view as like something I'd
Yeah,
want if
it's-
I had a lot of money or a yacht. Like I think yachts are really sick. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing, right? So everybody has their own vice,
Yeah,
or
of
whatever you want
course,
to call
of
it. But
Yeah, cars are just not my thing. But I also had another question I was wondering because first of all, when you said you were 38, I was pretty shook because I thought you were like 31, 32 to be honest. So you look pretty young for your
I
age.
wish, my man. I wish. Yeah.
But when did So how old were you when you had this wake up call?
33, still at my government job. Um,
Wow. So
and
it's
then yeah, that's around the time that the light bulb went off. Then I read Kiyosaki's book. Then I got my real estate license and then I bought my first property. And then it was just downhill from there. I've just been buying as much real estate as I can,
so wait,
as
hold
quickly
on.
as I can.
Where did you work?
So I was a customs officer for I worked at the Ambassador Bridge here in Windsor.
Okay.
And then I was in Ottawa when I had my awakening. I was in Ottawa working for their headquarters. And that's where my friend and colleague at the time was talking to me about real estate. And that's when the light bulb went off. I was 33, moved back to Windsor as I was getting my real estate license, started buying real estate, and started working as an agent. And then I quit my job and I just went nuts in real estate. Like I worked for 3 years straight, like almost nonstop. I sacrificed too. This is another big thing for people, like sacrifice for 2 or 3 years. Like I gave up a lot of my social life. I gave up a lot of like, I didn't buy a new house. I didn't buy a new car. I still drive the same car I've had. Whatever. I could. It'd be easy to go do. But like I said, no, I have a vision. Like I'm gonna give. You have to probably give a couple years.
Yeah.
Right? You have to give 2 or 3 years
It's hard
of your
though,
time.
man. Because even
Yeah.
I'm only 19 and like it doesn't really like it's not as valuable as what you're saying, but I went ghost for like 4 or 5 months and it was awesome. Like you're just improving and everything's awesome, but like you miss that social
Well, it
aspect
got.
of life.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It got to the point though where I just got tired of going out to these same events with
Yeah,
the
I
same
know. I
people, and I
know.
was at and never getting to that next level. And really, I think the reason people go out, they want to be this cool guy, they want to own the cars and do all these things. They want the symbol of success, but
It's
what they
not
really
nice.
want is to actually be successful.
Yeah.
So what they settle for is the symbols.
Because
And I said, no, I'm tired of the symbols because it's fake, right? I go out to the club, I buy a bottle, I think I'm this big shot, and then I go back to my shitty job that I hate, and I don't really make that much money relative to other people in the world. I'm fake. I'm fake. I'm a fake. I'm fake successful.
Yeah.
And really, the success really is I'm not doing what I want. Like I want to own real estate. I want to like challenge myself. I want to do bigger things. I want to like take myself to the next level. But I'm settling for this shit job, and then I just go out on the weekends and pretend I'm some big shot.
Yeah.
Like that, it just all became really fake to me.
I know, yeah.
And it's like, no, I'm gonna go do the real thing.
Okay,
I
yeah.
have to. I
Yeah.
just can't do it anymore.
And did you? So you said I have like this vision. Like even now, you said you still won't buy a new car. What is your like vision? Like your end goal? What do you think it is?
Passive income that just supports my lifestyle and tons of real estate. Maybe get into a little bit more consulting and like this stuff here, these conversations. Like as an agent, most of my job is consulting people and like getting them through mindsets that limit them,
Would you do like?
especially for investors.
Would you do like this is something I'd do. Like if I was making, I don't know, 300 grand a year passive income, and I was just like I don't need to work at all. I would do free coaching. Just because I can. Like I don't know. I don't. Well, one thing
Well, I find like these, like the podcasts that I do, I don't get paid for them.
No, you
like
don't.
the one I do with Dan or these, like this is free coaching here. Like this is 10 years of psychology that I've had to go through myself. That I'm just like laying out. All like this took a long time to come to these realizations.
Did you
like,
go to? Did you do post secondary education at all?
Yeah, I studied at the University of Windsor for 4 year honors degree in criminology.
Oh,
That was I wanted to get into policing. I wanted that.
yeah.
That was my goal at the time. But
So you went through like I don't mean to sound like a dick, but you fell for the whole like trap.
oh yeah, big time.
Okay.
Big time.
Because everyone
Big
does.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone's kind of doing it at my age now, and I'm like, and this is the thing. It's simple. I'm telling them what's going on. It's as simple as it gets. Like they're just trapping you to work a job, and it's just fucking in one ear out the other, and it's kind of frustrating. Like you got to keep in mind, I'm 19. I'm going through this part of my life right now, but I see it like you when you were 19. You didn't have all these media outlets teaching you, and like I can see like Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan, and I'm seeing all these guys teaching me what's going on, and I'm like, okay, I get it. But people still don't get what's going on, and it drives me insane.
Yeah. So there's certain people like yourself and Dan that just kind of had this awakening very early on in life without very much
Not
struggle. You just
too.
kind of like got it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
At a young age, you just got it.
Yeah.
But I know the other side of the coin because it took me so long. I understand the blocks people have.
Okay.
And I think people like yourself and Dan are just like, I don't get why these people have these blocks. And I'm like, no, I know why. Because I fell
Yeah,
for the
you went
system.
through
I
it. You went
believed,
through it.
and my parents told me certain things, and everybody around me did, and all my friends and all my family and the school system and everybody in the media told me what to do. So to break that when you're that deep into it is very difficult.
Yeah.
And especially it's difficult for people, number one, when you haven't done it, right? Like before I bought a bunch of real estate and quit my job and became an agent and started having success there, nobody listened to me. I don't care what I said. Who are you to tell me? You own nothing. You own no real estate. Why are you going to tell me anything? Now I have a little bit of credibility. People will listen a little bit more. I'm talking like friends and family and whatever. So number one, no credibility. And I forget what number two was, but like, you know what I mean? Like who's going to listen to you when you're preaching from your soapbox? Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
But I wasted a lot of time. I wasted a lot of time trying to convince people before I had done anything myself, and it's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
And it also stopped me from going and making moves because whenever I would come up against resistance, I'd be like, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am stupid. Maybe like that is a bad idea.
Yeah.
So I just shut up. I stopped talking about it. I started going to do it.
But the reason
that's why
is, like, it's so tempting to tell people, even if you haven't achieved anything, is because when you understand it, you understand that it's a slow process. And, like, you're not supposed to have anything right away. But they don't understand that. They're thinking, like, if you're talking all this, why don't you have anything yet? But they don't understand that it's a slow process, right?
But also, like going through the process, it humbles you. It humbled me. And it also... book knowledge and practical knowledge are very far apart.
Oh, very, yeah.
And the book knowledge without the practical knowledge, there's a gap, there's a disconnect, right? So I wasn't saying the right things. I wasn't saying, well, this is how you do it, and this is how I did it, and these are the steps I had to take. And then if you would come, well, I don't want to deal with tenants. I couldn't say to them, well, it's not really a big deal if you buy the right location, because I didn't know. So now because I've done it and I've learned what to do and what not to, now I can counter anybody's arguments.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If they said, well, what if rates rise? Well, now I have an answer to that. What if this happens? Well, I can answer that. What if this happens? Now whatever. So before doing anything, if anybody challenged me, I didn't really have a good answer other than, well, I read this in a book. Well, nobody cares what you read in a book.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody cares.
But like you said, it's all about the practical knowledge. That's because now, like, if I went up to someone and all I have is the book knowledge, right? I have no practical knowledge, which I'll gladly admit I don't care. I'll like stutter and I'll like second guess things because I'm not like 100% sure. You will go and you'll be 100% fluent and you'll tell everything how it is because you have the practical knowledge, and that goes like 100 times deeper for the listener than what I would be trying to do than the book knowledge. Yeah, that makes complete sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah, but still keep preaching, man. Like you might catch some. You're gonna catch some people. It's just that your net's gonna grow as you.
It's the thing is though, like when you do it, when I preach it and stuff, I kind of stopped because like people just think I'm being arrogant and cocky when I'm really just trying to help you. But like this is the thing with people, and like people are weak and they've gotten a lot weaker this generation than they were. I'm assuming when you were a child, when you were my age, but now people. Just all they want to hear is that they're doing good and they're doing everything right, even if they're not. They just want to hear that they are, and they want that comfortable friend, the person that's like constantly making them feel like a sense of like reassurance that they're doing something right when like there's so many things they're doing wrong. If you're my friend and you're not telling me what I'm doing wrong, then I don't consider you a real friend. Like honestly,
most people want to hear what's comfortable and what keeps them in their safety zone.
Yeah, that's why they're 100%. In the bottom. That's why they're in the bottom.
Yeah,
like I can't do.
But here's the difference. Here's a bit of a difference, right? If Michael Jordan comes to me and says, "Hey, here's how you got to play basketball," I'm gonna listen to him. If Joe Schmo that didn't even make his freshman team comes and tells me how to play basketball, I might say, "Oh, you have no credibility. I'm not gonna listen to you."
I know.
So you gotta understand
their point of view.
Where you can come across as arrogant. Like again, Michael Jordan says I'm the best basketball player of all time. Well, I can't really argue that.
Yeah.
But this young kid is, I'm going to be the best basketball player of all time. Well, now you're arrogant because you don't have any proof.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. I would
So
go around saying like I'm gonna be a billionaire and shit. And then I
yeah, yeah,
quickly realized that's dumb. Don't do that. Yeah. Like you learn across like along the way
yeah.
what to say and what not to say. Public image is really important and like your reputation is very important. You cannot taint that. Like it is essential, especially for a career like yours.
It takes decades to build, and you could destroy it in one comment
Exactly.
or one. Yeah. So
Exactly. So yeah, you gotta
it's huge. Yep.
yeah. And that's the thing. So I can't be out here arrogant and cocky and whatever. So I
Yeah, but
will.
for 19, you've got the right mindset. I'd rather have your mindset and just starting out than
Mhm.
500 grand in the bank and the wrong mindset, because your
Oh yeah.
500 grand will get you stuck in a job that you hate, in a
Well,
life that you hate, because you don't know what to do with your money.
if you look at all these kids my age, like across America even, that got rich with crypto, like got rich quick, like NFTs or whatever. A lot of them like lost it or like didn't really know what to do with it because like they kind of just got rich without becoming like a man, if that makes sense. Like they didn't go through like
100%.
yeah, you
Yeah.
know, and that's like the worst thing that can happen because they have all this money and they don't know how to talk to people, they don't know how to do networking, they don't know how to sell stuff, and they just lose it and they probably get jumped or something. You know what I mean?
Well, oh, absolutely. And one of the problem is when you get lucky. Let's call it like you can't. I don't like to call it luck. Let's say you bought Bitcoin because you believed in it and you
Or
made
even the lottery.
millions of dollars. Yeah, let's say something where you actually made an investment decision and got really, like, you bought Amazon stock for $5 and held it for 20 years.
Yeah,
I don't call that luck. You made a great decision.
yeah,
But let's say you got rich a little bit quick, however it happened. The get rich quick thing, the problem with it is, okay, now let's say I made $2 million. Okay, now how do I do that again? I
yeah,
got to find the next Amazon.
yeah,
I got to ride that out for 10 years. I got to find the next Bitcoin.
yeah.
It's very hard to do it twice. That's why slow and steady is so valuable,
Hmm.
because you only need to do the right things consistently, and that slow and steady will make you rich for sure. The
Yeah.
get rich quick, if you get rich once, then how do you keep the wealth and how do you double your money the next time? And most people will try to double it and they'll lose it.
Yeah.
Because they'll try to recreate what they did the first time, which was a lot of luck. It may have been a good decision, but
This book right here is a really good book. You can buy it at Indigo, literally at the mall. It's called The Psychology of Money. One of the chapters is literally explains the difference of like how getting wealthy and staying wealthy are two different skills.
big
Two
time.
completely different skills. Like you can anyone
Big
like
time.
a lot of people know how to get wealthy, but they don't. They would suck. Like look at like Mike Tyson or like or Conor McGregor or like these guys that are like you know how you said earlier like middle class. I wanted to say this, but I didn't want to interrupt you. Middle class is a mindset, not a dollar amount. So would you consider those like rich people that just spend, 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 spend? Would you consider them middle class?
I would say they have middle class mindset, like,
Okay.
but they just have more money, right?
Yeah.
They're going out and buying all liabilities.
Yeah.
They're wasting their money on
Yeah.
things that are going to burn a hole in their pocket.
Yeah.
You can get away with it for a longer period of time, as long as you have the money coming in.
But it's
But
mostly
your money,
athletes. It's mostly athletes that do, or
yeah, yeah.
celebrities like singers too, singers and actors and actresses.
Yeah, because you didn't understand money. You don't understand how money works. Now you just have a bunch of it. You still don't know how it works, so you just go spend it all.
Yeah,
You don't have anything working for you, so you've got to keep working. But once you stop working, where's
yeah,
the money?
hmm,
Even if you have it saved, it's slowly being devalued.
yeah,
So
100%.
you can't win. And I want people to understand this. There is no middle ground with money. You either you're either investing in something that's making at least the rate of inflation, which is 7%, not 2%, even in good years, in my opinion, on average, or you're losing money because it's being saved, and your saving rate. Let's say you're making 2%. Well, inflation 7%. You're actually losing 5% a year. So there is no middle ground where your money is safe.
That's
You have
what
to
that's what I was
put
gonna
it to
say.
work.
Because I thought I was gonna say like, oh, some people might say, well, middle ground is a savings account, but you're still
No.
losing money in a savings account. That's
To inflation
yeah,
and money supply increases, where
exactly.
they're printing money and creating more money in the system. and the price of goods is rising, your buying power is coming down, and your currency is being devalued. That's the game. We live in our money's backed by nothing.
Mm-hmm.
If our money was sound money, like if it was the gold standard, the value of your money would go up and the price of goods would come down because gold is so scarce.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it would actually be inverse. You would save money, and in 20 years it would buy you more than it buys you now. So you could actually save. You cannot save in a fiat monetary system
No.
because they're constantly creating more supply of money. So there is no middle ground. You either are a middle class pleb that's being devalued. Pleb just means like kind of an average average person financially. Your money's being devalued. You're constantly losing buying power, or you're buying things that outpace inflation. There's no middle ground.
Yeah, of course. Or like, or you're like tied, which is really like the middle ground. It's really unlikely, and that's so like even like I learned this from Matt with his whole dividend paying whole life insurance. Even like this is like the bare minimum is like putting all your money in an RSP or a TFSA in like an S&P 500 index. I still don't think that's enough, to be honest. I really don't.
Not even close.
Yeah, no, like
No.
because like you're getting,
So what is the stock market average return like the S&P? It's like 7 to 10% or something a year, right? Over 100 years or a long period of time, whatever it is, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, what did I say the increase in money supply
Exactly.
a year is historically?
Exactly.
It's like 8%.
Exactly.
So you're actually just breaking even.
Exactly.
Okay, which is good. You're breaking even,
Yeah, that's
which
why
I guess
said
would
it's
be your
not bad.
middle ground. But
But-
you're not getting ahead. People think they're getting ahead, right? Oh, I had 100 grand. Now I have 107 grand.
But
Okay, but
let's say you have 70% of your money in there and 30% is in cash, and then we hit like a fucking recession tomorrow. You can't sell it. Like that value money of that money went down. You know what I mean? You can't like it's stuck there until it goes back up, unless you want to sell it, which you shouldn't. But with real estate, there's leverage, right? Which makes the like huge difference. You can't leverage with stocks. It's horrible. So there was that, and then like it's not recession proof. You have no control over it. Like like I said, you can't sell it. So yeah, there's just
well, here's another thing. Like Amazon or Apple, they aren't on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't need an iPhone. Like I want one, whatever, but I don't need an iPhone. I could go buy a different phone, whatever.
that's true.
I need a place to live. I need air to breathe. I need water to drink. I need clothing, whatever.
I've never
But
thought of that.
Yeah, housing is literally on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need shelter. So even if things go really bad, do you think that there's going to be a bunch of homeless people living on the streets in the winter time across Ontario?
What the most grave conspiracy theorists believe is that we'll just go communist and the government owns all property.
Here's the thing though, look in China. They don't even do that in China.
And they
Because
are
here's
free.
why. They're pure communist dictatorship.
Yeah.
But here's why they don't do that. Because it would never work.
Why?
It would never work. Who would take care of the property? Where does the money Okay, so now I got a furnace that's broken. Who's going to pay for that? Who's going to manage the property? Who's going to pay for the bills? Who's going to pay the property taxes? And also, if I don't own anything, right? Because my mortgage keeps me enslaved because I got to keep working to pay it off.
Yeah.
So what you actually want...
It's correction though. It only keeps you enslaved if you live in that house.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway,
True.
just keep going.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But for the middle class, they only own their own personal residence,
exactly.
which enslaves
Yeah.
them. So why would they want to eliminate property rights in general? I'd have nothing to work for.
Yeah.
I'd have no reason to go to work. They,
And the
so
banks-
that's why I don't. Yeah,
No, you're right.
and the banks, the banks, the biggest profit, they own all the mortgages, by the way. So if
Exactly.
you would eliminate all the banks. You would destroy the whole system. The system works in their favor. They want to keep the system
But those
going, in my opinion.
those grave exactly, that's the thing. These grave conspiracy theorists, I'm not saying they're right, and I'm not saying you're right either. I'm like Ray Dalio. I don't know what's going on, and I don't really care. Like you too, but like they think we're resetting the system. Like the system's changing, and they're doing that on purpose. Like the whole digital currency conspiracies and all this shit. I don't know.
Yeah, I do agree, but to go to the point where they control every business, they control
Yeah,
every
I
facet of
know
the
it's
economy,
out of control.
and all property rights, it would go against that theory, in my opinion, which I do agree with. They're obviously seeking more and more control over society. That's
Yeah,
pretty clear.
I
The
think
problem is
more in Canada
when
than
you
the
try.
U.S.
We're way further along,
Yeah,
but they're trying to do it in the U.S. It's just going to take a lot longer if they can
yeah,
ever get away with it.
yeah.
But pure socialism, where the government controls every facet of the economy, it's been proven that it doesn't work. So what they're trying to do now, in my opinion, is a communism, socialism, capitalist hybrid, right? Like China, it's both. They have very strict government regulation, heavy taxation. They control a lot of the market, but they also have free market principles, which in a lot of ways, because the market's so tight and there's so much regulation, if you own the right stuff, they limit competition. So they can actually, you can get very rich in those situations. That's why we have such a housing shortage in Canada, because it's so hard to build.
Yeah.
Because you got to pay freaking $100,000 development fees to go develop anything. And then there's now building code regulations are getting stricter every year.
But the price of lumber's
And
gone down a bit, no?
yeah, but then they raise the development fees, and then the contractors are more
Oh,
expensive. So lumber's come down, but the problem is land is up higher, and there's a labor shortage,
oh my
and
God.
there's gas prices are up. So to get the lumber shipped here is higher. So like, the regulation is so tight here. You can't build things en masse. You can't just go build 100,000 houses. It's just too expensive and too hard.
So you
My point
said
is that if I
there's a labor
yeah.
shortage because with all this shit that's going on in the in the economy and Ukraine war, the one good thing we have is that unemployment is low, right? So do you think when interest rates go up and these companies, construction companies, clothing companies, whatever, they start like needing to pay more interest on their loans, they start laying people off potentially? Do you think we'll see higher unemployment numbers coming soon?
Oh, if we get to that point, for sure, yeah, they're gonna have to lay people off, um, for sure, 100%.
And do you think we'd enter? Do you
Which
know?
I think they want to do that. They want
Yeah,
to do that. The labor market is too tight in their opinion.
yeah.
Like I've heard them say that. Yeah, it's
So
too
do you
tight.
think that do you know what stagflation is?
Yeah, it's where you have inflation with in a recession or something.
Yeah, high inflation, low economic growth, and high unemployment, which is like the three worst things. And I think
Yeah.
we might hit that, and that would be atrocious. But I know you don't care because you're just gonna buy fucking.
Well, the question is though, like the government, because they basically have full control of the economy. How long are they going to let that go on for before they step in?
Depends
Right? If
what
I'm
their
a real
goals
estate
are.
owner, true. But what if their main goal is to stay in power, keep people from rioting, and to get reelected? Because that's what I think their actual main goal is.
Okay, if
Always.
you're assuming that that's their goal, then that there'll be a lot of manipulation to make sure that does not happen. But I mean,
So I don't think they're going to get to the point where people are rioting in the streets and calling for Justin Trudeau's head, and they don't want to vote him in anymore because everybody's lost their job. That's just my opinion. I could
yeah,
very
that
well
would
be
be
wrong. Like
stupid on
anything's
his
on the
part. Yeah.
table. Politically, it would not be smart, and it would hurt their chances of re-election, which is always their main goal. So you got to understand, to get inflation under control, they have to talk the biggest game possible. Because if they even showed a hint of dovishness or weakness, guess what? Inflation would be running rampant still. People would be buying houses left and right. They have to talk the biggest game possible to get people's psychology to be fearful. They have to.
Yeah.
The question is, are they going to let it get to a point where banks fail, people are out on the streets, unemployment's 10, 15%, interest rates are 15%, nobody can afford
What if
anything?
it's inevitable?
Why is it inevitable when they could easily pull levers, right? They could
They can't though. They can't print money anymore. Like that, like it's kind of not an option anymore. Like the Fed and the central banks can't really do that anymore. If they do, it's just gonna make it worse.
the problem is they printed money when they shut the economy down and they screwed up the supply chains.
And this is
So
like
they
we
can
talked
theoretically.
about this earlier. We talked about this earlier. Why did they do that? It's not because they're stupid. There's no way every country in the world is that stupid. It's something deeper because every country did it, Every country's like, yeah, we're locking down. We're gonna print trillions of dollars. Like this is just no. It's done intentionally. It's way too clear cut. And then it's like, what are their intentions now?
Yeah, it's hard. I've gone down a lot of these rabbit holes.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, it's weird, it's sketchy. The problem is I don't know and I'm never going to know.
Yeah.
So, what I need to do is operate on fundamentals and buy cash
Exactly.
flowing assets in any market, in any situation, because my long term view is that real estate's always going to be solid, though there's going to be times of turbulence. The best corporations of the world are always going to make money. The best land in the world, like, you can't recreate it. Like, there's never going to be a time in my life where I'm not looking to buy assets at a discount.
Okay.
Right. So
100%.
I've gotten caught up in like a lot of this stuff where it makes me inactive because what if they do this? What if they do that? Well, then I've got bigger problems to worry about than my
I know.
duplex.
It's just
You know,
podcast
because
talk.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I definitely, like, I'm not arguing with you. I agree, man. It's sketchy. There's some weird stuff happening. A lot of it doesn't make sense. We're going a lot more towards totalitarianism and socialism and social controls
Like I don't
and all
care
those
about
things.
that. I'm just curious because I want to buy a property. Like I'm on the same level as you. I want to buy a property. I'm just wondering what's
The way I look at it, prices are off 150 grand off their peak. I just got a couple great deals this week for investor clients that would have been one for 350. It would have been 475 3 months ago,
so.
and it's cash flow
A
positive.
couple years ago, I read a book on like investing and like on rental properties, how to quit your job with them, and like it said, like the best homes to target as an investor are like ones that need a little bit of work done to them, 3 bedroom, single family, stuff like what would you be your ideal house for a first time investor like myself?
So, do you have any skill in renovations?
No, but I would be
Do you have a
willing
large
to.
amount of capital that you can afford to buy a house,
Yeah.
put the down
And I
payment
know
down?
people, and I know people.
Yeah. Do you have the desire to do renovations? Do you have the desire to spend 6 months renovating a
If the
property?
numbers make
Like,
sense, 100%.
yeah. So my point is that yes, that's a great strategy. Like, come in, renovate it. I'm just saying you don't have to. Like,
Okay.
the one that we just bought for my clients, turnkey,
Do you?
turnkey. Do I? I don't do renovation projects. No, I've been buying turnkey. The
Really?
reason for that in this yes, everything I've bought has been turnkey. I've done one flip, never do it again because there's too much work. And I flipped the property. I could have just held it and made triple the money, over three,
Yeah.
4 years. But I sold it for a quick profit. So because Canada's market's so tight and because Windsor's so cheap, I can go in and buy something that makes money right off the hop. And I know that we're short houses, so I know appreciation is going to be 4 or 5% a year, in my opinion, for the next 20 years. I can let the market do the appreciation for me. I have a long-term mindset. If you have, so my recommendation is if you have a skill or the desire to buy something at a discount and renovate it, great strategy. I'm just saying you don't have to, in my opinion.
Okay. So
Yep.
let's say I didn't want to.
Turnkey property around 350K that rents for 2,100 bucks a month. That all the major stuff is
How
done.
many bedrooms?
Three bedrooms, 2
2100.
baths, finished basement, easily. Rental
Really?
market's crazy. So housing has not become more affordable, right? Interest rates are up significantly. So if you go try to qualify for a mortgage right now, guess what they qualify you at?
Probably
Guess we have to
like a
qualify.
month.
No,
Oh, like
interest rate.
like I don't know, 7,
qualifying
7 or
rate.
8%.
It's like 6.5%.
Okay, yeah. I was
So
close, yeah.
your affordability is very low.
Yeah.
Right? Not you. I'm just saying people in
Yeah,
general
of
because you're
course.
qualifying at such a high rate.
And they
So
need to
therefore,
make
people
that.
can't afford houses. They need to rent. Rents are going up. You can't find any rentals in the city. They're renting like this. I own a bunch. Trust me, I see this every day. So that's another thing. Yeah, their interest rates are going up, but rents are going up. So I own rental properties. Okay, well, I'm offsetting it with higher rents.
So
You know,
So what you're saying is when interest rates go up, rent prices indirectly are affected by that.
almost no matter what the government does, real estate wins.
Yeah,
in
I
my
know.
in my opinion. Yeah.
That is crazy.
Long term, right?
Yeah.
Short term, I don't know what's going to happen in 6 months or 12 months. But come talk to me in 100 years, prices are going to be higher, rents are going to be higher, and that
Well-
piece of real estate's going to be there.
So like I know you, I know you're gonna answer yes to this, and I'm hoping it sounds pretty messed up. It really does. But like I'm sitting there and I'm just hoping we hit like a 2008 type thing. So like prices are on discounts. You know what I mean? Like we got foreclosures and stuff. I don't think it will, or I don't know if it will. Like I said, I don't know. But like,
People have to understand 2008 was a unique situation. Literally,
yeah,
you had banks collapsing. You had people that had loans that could not afford those properties. They
yeah,
had no job, they had no credit, and they were giving out loans to anybody, and it was a systemic crash. Canada's real estate market, go try to get a mortgage right now. Okay? There are some flaws, but it's very tight, very regulated.
is it?
They've been qualifying people at 5.25% this whole time. You had to, so even if the interest rate was 1.5, they qualified me at 5.25, right? So I had to be able to afford they have CMHC insurance, they have billions of dollars in capital on the balance sheets for the insured mortgages. You can't go get a mortgage without showing every freaking thing and giving a left kidney. Like, we don't have systemic risk like that. Like, there's some risk on the peripheries. Like, some people have been buying pre-construction condos. Like, there's some periphery risk, but there's not that systemic risk. And there's so much demand and such a shortage of housing that we might see a contraction. We are seeing a contraction. We're going to see a dip and all that stuff. But, like, to call for the whole system to crash,
No, so
man,
you
I
don't
don't
think
know.
it'll be like '08?
No, '08 was. If you understand what happens in '08, you can't say
But I
that
know
that's what's
I
happening here.
somewhat understand.
Yeah.
There's obviously some more that I don't, but I know that the
I
banks
mean, watch
got.
The Big Short.
I did, yeah, I did, I
Yeah.
did,
Yeah.
and like it's one of my favorite movies. And like I
Mm-hmm.
understand the banks got greedy and they were just lying, saying that all these bonds were AAA rated bonds when they were just subprime garbage, and like they were like double
Yeah.
B's and triple.
You had people that they had interest only loans, and they had they didn't have to pay the mortgage. They had interest only loans on people who could buy three houses without qualifying. Go
Yeah,
try to buy three houses in Canada from a bank without qualifying for them. Good
but
luck. It ain't ever gonna
but
happen.
if something were to happen this time around, because interest rates they weren't as low as they were when we hit 2020 and they bottomed, but even before that, because you've been a realtor for 5 years, you know that when you started, interest rates were low. Not as low as they were
Yeah,
in 2020, but they were
yeah,
still
three and
low.
a half, four
Yeah,
percent,
yeah.
something like that,
Compared to
probably.
now,
Yep.
and they're only going to go up. Okay, so let's say you have these people, like some of your clients, with they renew their contracts every 5 years. That's how it works, right?
Yeah, yeah. Typically, yeah, you have a 5-year term. But like,
Yeah.
here's my theory. I don't know what's going to happen. Yes, it's possible that they just keep raising rates and then everybody defaults on their mortgages and they crash the whole system. My theory is why would they want to do that? Like, why would the government want all the middle
Because
class people that vote for them
because people
to
like you and
default on
I,
their mortgages?
because then people like you and I can just buy them, and then
Yeah, but who are you buying them from?
the banks. Oh, yeah.
You're buying them from other people. Like you're sewering
Yeah,
other
but what
people.
if they just want to widen the gap even more?
I don't think they have to do something this extreme. In fact, what they were doing with low rates is widening the gap because I was buying more real estate than ever before when rates were
Yeah,
1.5%.
but
Right?
when you have low rates, you're widening the gap. You're correct, but you're also like keeping like the middle class is also thriving because rates are low. We see who's real, like who's on the real upside when rates are high, and those people that are still surviving, those are the actual rich people.
Well, I think the rich people are always the rich people. Like
Yeah,
whoever's over leveraged right now and has been buying stuff on margin and like using their HELOCs to buy all their real estate and buying things that aren't cash flow positive or buying pre-con condos, yeah, you're at risk. But people that have been buying real estate intelligently and starting businesses that make money and being smart, they're always going to win,
so
right? I don't care if
you view real estate as a business, right?
absolutely,
Yeah.
it's exactly what it is.
So
Yep.
so like this, you're a realtor. That's you being a job. Like that's your job, and then real estate is a complete like side business, basically. Even though they're both the
Yes.
same industry, right? Okay. So
Absolutely, because this is active, right?
yeah,
I have to be at my job every day and answer the phone.
yeah,
My real estate's working for me right now. I just made $50, right, in the last hour in my
nice,
rents, right?
nice.
If you broke it down by hour or whatever you wanted to do, when I
Wait, are you
sleep, I'm
serious?
making. Well, I'm making up numbers, but
Okay.
like if I have 15 properties and my cash flow is $4,500 a month. Well,
Yeah.
divide that by per hour. I don't
Yeah,
know what it
yeah.
is, but
Yeah, 'cause
every
50
hour
would
I'm
be a lot.
theoretically making
50 would be a lot,
it.
but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know what
whatever it
yeah,
is, right?
yeah,
But
yeah. So do you recommend I get incorporated before I buy my first property?
for most people, I'm going to say no because it stops people from making moves. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to go start a corporation, then your accountant's going to say, "Hey, it's going to cost you $3,000 a year to do your taxes, and we got to spend a couple grand to start the corporation." And you say, that's too much. I don't want to do it." And then it stops people from doing it. If you have a big goal, if you plan on owning 20 plus properties, like when you own a big portfolio, the corporation will help you because you can hide your income, you can keep the income in your corporation, not declare it, all that stuff. But for a beginner investor, you get no advantage, right?
Okay.
You get no tax advantages, you get no real liability advantages. It just doesn't really matter that much. So don't let that decision sway you. I bought my first 5 properties in my own personal name. Then I started a corporation. If you have big goals and big visions and you think you're going to achieve them, then start the corporation right away. But it's not really a game changer until like you're 10 years into the game for most people.
So when you started the corporation, were you able to move those 5 from your personal assets to corporate?
You'd have to pay land transfer tax on every one of them. It would be, 50 to 100 grand just to do that. So it doesn't make any sense.
Damn.
And there's so many things as well, right? Like for that passive income, I'm getting so many write-offs with my properties that I basically declare no income. So it doesn't really affect me,
Yeah.
my taxes, right? I'm amortizing my properties or depreciating them at 4% per year.
So okay,
I get my
that's
cell
that's
phone
another
written off.
thing. I understand. I just don't really get this. So like, your house like physically depreciates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what Trump does to avoid paying taxes. I know that.
Well, it's not Trump. It's anybody
I
that
know.
understands
Okay,
the
yeah,
tax
yeah,
game. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is what I learned.
Like everybody does this. Yeah.
Cool.
Anybody that owns real estate does this. You depreciate your property at 4% a year.
But
because
the
that's what the tax code
value is
allows.
appreciating. That's
Yes.
where I'm getting
Now,
lost.
Yes. Yes, the value appreciates, but they assume because it's like, like the furnace wears out, the roof wears out, you got to put capital. They assume that it appreciates in the tax code. But if after 20 years it actually has appreciated, you'd have to recapture whatever you've depreciated and pay it back. But I don't care about that because I want the tax advantages now.
Yeah.
Because I can save the money and go put it to work. I'll pay it back in 20 years. I don't care. Maybe I'll never pay it back because maybe I'll never sell it.
Yeah.
And I'll pass it on to my kids. And I'll refinance it and just keep tapping the equity and never dispose of the asset.
Okay, yeah.
Right? So you're playing the game, whereas the game is stacked against the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
It's stacked in favor of people that understand money and
I
the
was
tax
just gonna
code.
say that. Yeah. I was just
Yeah.
gonna say that. Cause like it's
Yeah. So I gotta wrap up, my friend.
okay. Yeah.
I got a couple things I gotta deal with, but this was a pleasure. I'd love to hop on again.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Another
yeah,
time.
for sure.
So.
Yeah. No. Any final things you want to say before you go?
No, just the podcast Dan and I do. It's called Pull the Trigger, and that's what it's all about ultimately, right? You can have all the knowledge in the world. You can have read 1,000 books, but if you're not out there making moves, and like if you're not active in this market right now, real estate, stocks, whatever, because you're waiting for the perfect time and you think you're going to catch the exact bottom, I just don't think you get it. You should be looking for opportunities. I'm not saying go buy everything today or tomorrow, but like you should be like this is what everybody said that they wanted, right? I want a 25% dip in stock prices or 50% dip in stocks. I wanted a 25% correction in real estate. Here we are.
Okay. Yeah.
And everybody's on the sidelines afraid that the government's going to seize everybody's property and the interest rates are going to go to 40% and everybody's going to be homeless and it's going to be 10% unemployment. Maybe that's going to happen, but what if it doesn't? What if they come out in the next meeting and say we're done raising rates?
Yeah.
What if they come out, like you don't know, right? So you make moves, you buy cash flowing great assets and hold them for 25 years. That's my advice. And start pulling the trigger.
All right. That's it from Scott.
That's it, my man.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thanks, you too, Richard.